Hey guys, welcome back to Al's Fish Tales. Good to see you. Today's going to be a different kind of video. Today I'm going to be talking about a few different things, and that is I just changed the substrate on the Fluval CO₂, and I want to test my water parameters, but I also am going to be comparing them to some Gulf water that was brought back about a week ago. So I don't know how it's gonna test. I figure we'll go and check it out. The other thing is I now have this book here, this binder. I'm going to be keeping logs, maintenance logs of my tank daily, weekly, monthly, annually. I have different checklists that I used AI to create for me. I'm not saying that I'll stick with it every single day, but I'm going to try my best to just kind of monitor my tank and see if there's any huge swings or anything. I'm only going to be doing it with my reef tank, not on my freshwater tanks. And then real quick guys, I just want to throw out there this cover from the National Marine Sanctuary, the Florida Keys. I spent a lot of time down there in the Coast Guard and in the Caribbean in general, like Central South America, and it's heartbreaking to know that people aren't taking, rising seawater temperatures serious, because it's killing the reefs. I mean, imagine if you walked around all day and your body temperature was 2 degrees higher. If you went from 98 to 100 and it was like that constantly, you would feel like crap. And it's killing the reefs and many things, whether it be the factories in China or just pollution in general. It's not like a tree hugger issue. This is like a serious issue, because if the reefs go, all the smaller fish go, the bigger fish go, and then the humans that consume them go. So people should wake up and take it a little more serious. Something needs to be done. And the problem with the reef is it's out of sight, out of mind. So if you're not down there, you don't realize that all the coral reefs are dying. So just something to keep in the back of your mind. You see that a lot of laws are being passed to not protect the ocean and increase manufacturing and whatnot. Hopefully in the United States, manufacturing stays cleaner than China, so that would be a good thing. But I'm not going to get political. I just want to say that, we really have to take care of our reefs. And I think it's extremely important, probably one of the most important things that no one's talking about right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this water from the Gulf of America, and I'm going to test my reef tank water. And besides the substrate, I also changed salts. I went from reef crystals, from the orange reef crystals bucket, which I've never had a problem with, to the Coral Pro. And also I think that my Rhodey system, I've never changed the filters on it in the 2 years I've had it. And whenever I test the water with it, I am getting 0.01 part per million or something like that. It's the lowest possible number. But I was reading up on it, and when your deionizer filter changes from like a clearish to a brown color, then it's time to change it. Honestly, mine's been brown for a while. I ordered the combo pack for the Reef Buddy system that I use for RODI water, and all that will be getting changed out tomorrow. So if my water parameters are bad today, it's just gonna have to wait till tomorrow when I can make some more Rhodey water. If you guys are interested in the reverse osmosis system that I use to make water, which you may not be after this video, no, if there's anything wrong, it's my fault because I haven't changed the filters, and I'm sure it's way overdue, but I'll link that all down below so you guys can take a look. So let me begin these tests. I'm going to test my water first, and then I will test this water. And also, this is my refractometer. This is a test solution. I did calibrate my refractometer just like yesterday or the day before, and I haven't used it since, but I do have it dialed in. It is accurate as far as I know, at least, unless this fluid is not accurate. But if you're wondering what this is calibration fluid, so it tells you it's 1.0264 specific gravity, 35 parts per trillion salinity, and the refractive index is 1.3394. So if you're wanting to calibrate your refractometer, this is the refractometer I use. I'll also have it linked below. So far it's worked well for me as far as I know. And yeah, so I don't have anything bad to say about it. It's a cheap one. Originally when I had talked about this, actually, I didn't realize that you had to calibrate these, but you do. And I'll just show you real quick. The way you do it is you pull that off. I didn't know about this. There's a screw underneath there with a flathead. And you just want to clean this real good with RO water where the light shines through. Clean it real good. You're going to put your calibration fluid on there and then just adjust clockwise or counterclockwise until it meets that standard. So anyway, that's calibrated now, just to get that out of the way in case you're wondering whenever it comes to the salinity test. Now, Just remember, this water has been sitting here now for a week or two. I have no idea what that's going to do to it. I have kept it next to my reef tank, so if the light affects it at all, I don't know. So we'll find out. It's still clear. It hasn't clouded up or anything yet, so I'm very interested to see. That is from Orange Beach, I believe. And in case you're new to the channel, this is the tank that we will be testing today. This is my 13.5 gallon Fluval CO₂ Reef tank. Now currently I have 1 candy cane coral in here and 3 zoanthids on this frag rack. And we have 1 sea anemone, 2 clownfish, 1 snail, 1 sea urchin if I didn't mention that. We've got a protein skimmer, Fluval light. We've got the 3D ocean tips on here for the flow and the covers, as well as chamber 1 running the rack in there. Take that off so you can see it. It's a multi-stage rack. Love this thing. And I also have a custom cover coming in. So that's just a quick overview of the tank. And what I'll do is pull a water sample here in a second and we'll get started. So here is the test kit and here is the maintenance items for the week that we'll be starting off with. We will be using the API Reef Master Test Kit. Now I understand a lot of people, especially on Reef to Reef, do not run this kit, but this is what I have, so this is what we're using. And we will test the temperature of the water. Here is our guideline for the phosphate and nitrate. So you can see we've got phosphate, carbonate, KH, calcium, and nitrate. All the bottles will be thoroughly shaken before they're used, and we will follow the instructions to the T. This test could be really embarrassing for me, I'm not gonna lie. If the results come out bad, it's gonna make me look bad. But if you've been following along, you know I have no problem admitting my faults and learning more about this hobby as I've been doing it 2.5 years now on the reef tank. And so we'll find out. Obviously the tank just underwent a lot of changes. We'll go ahead and get started. I'll note side by side what we find out for the parameters in the Gulf water. Over here, I'm just gonna write Gulf and we'll do a side-by-side comparison of everything, and I will be sure to go down it at the end if I don't cover it during the video. Really interested to see how this compares. So the first thing we're going to do on this checklist is the temperature. Now I'm not going to use a thermometer, I'm just going to check this with the laser, which can be inaccurate, but we're going to at least get close. Now anytime I check the temperature with the laser, I make sure not to point it at the fish and try to point it at the rock or something solid I can see. So get right there. Watch out, fishy, fishy. Looks like we're actually at 79 degrees. Now I'm in Arkansas and we're upstairs in my house, so it does stay really warm up here. I actually have my heater, which is a Fluval. I think it's an M50 in here. Whatever one is the standard for the CO₂. I have it set to like 70 or 72. I'm sure it hasn't been on at all. I think it just stays this temperature up here. Let's check the wall temperature just to get a readout. Yeah, so it's pretty hot up here. So this is going to be the tank water, and I should have grabbed my bigger syringe. This is going to take a minute. So I'm just going to fill these up slowly but surely to 5 mLs each, and then we'll run this test and I'll get back to you and we'll check the salinity as well, and then we'll compare it to the Gulf water. All right, so temperature 79 degrees. Now that's slightly warmer than we would like. We're going with honesty here. So let's see what this temperature is at. Oh, it's also about 79. So perfect. So I've got the light on now so I can check. I'm going to be doing the salinity test. Let me go ahead and put a couple drops of water on here. We got 3. It's way too much actually. So on the salinity test, we're at 1.025 specific gravity. Let me see if I can get this in the camera. I don't know if it'll show it or not. See if the camera, you can just barely see it. 1.025. Okay, so that's good. That checks out. We'll take that. It's time for the carbonate hardness test. So I'm going to be adding drops to this. It's going to turn yellow eventually. It'll turn blue first, but your KH, I believe, is what manages your pH or helps keep it more balanced. So we'll see if mine's balanced. If not, if it's higher than it should be, which I don't know, it may or may not, then I believe your KH will actually drop on its own as your corals absorb it. Could be wrong, but I think that's kind of how it works. You can dose stuff to drop it, but I just don't like adding stuff to the aquarium unless it's absolutely necessary. This is your KH conversion chart. You can see your parts per million and DKH, which is corresponding with the number of drops. So for a reef tank, I think you want, 8 to 12 drops, something like that. There's 2 drops. Now it should turn blue. There it goes. It's turning blue. Might be kind of hard to see with the blue light back there. What I'm gonna do, I've cut myself with these glass API tubes. Had one break on me before, so I'm a little bit hesitant to use them. But since we're doing 2 tests, I'm not using... Actually, I think I have more of these plastic test tubes now that I think about it. But anyway, we're here now. But let's shake that up now a little bit better. You can see it's blue. I'm gonna keep adding to this until it turns yellow. 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll go with 6 and see what happens. So that puts us at 89.5 to 107 parts per million, or 5 to 6 DKH. So that is actually a little bit low. Now, something I did mention earlier is I did buy some Red Sea Reef Energy AB+. So I am gonna start dosing that minimally a couple times a week. Someone I talked to said to dose that at half the dose twice a week for my tank. So, all right, so we're gonna put 6 for that test. This could be the real embarrassing one, guys. We are going to do phosphate now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Don't worry, these were shaken already. Bottle number 2 phosphate. We're gonna add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shake that up, and we'll do a little comparison here. So it's kind of hard to see. It looks dark at some angles, at others it's not. But it looks like, if I can pull this light down a little closer here, looks like we're somewhere in the middle of 2 to 4 parts per million phosphate. I'm gonna say it's closer to 4. The next test we'll be doing is our nitrate test. So we're going to add 10 drops here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now this test should stay pretty low. We definitely don't want this one to be high. 8, 9, 10. Looking good so far, but let's mix it up. And as you can see, we have no nitrates in the water. It's perfectly yellow, maybe 1 or 2 parts per million. This is the calcium test. Now this one's a little more difficult of all the tests. You have to wait for 2 different color changes. So the first thing we're gonna do is add 10 drops. Now this should turn pink, if I remember right. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's clouding up. Let me mix this. Okay, so it's got like kind of a pinkish hue to it now. Now the way the second bottle works is it's gonna turn to like a pink to a purple to a blue. So it's actually like 3 different colors. And we're hoping that the number of drops corresponds to the parts per million or milligrams per liter, I think, of calcium, which is between like 400 and 500. So we're looking for 20 to 25 drops to see this reaction. So let's go ahead and we'll start with 10 drops and see what happens. 9, 10. So you can see we've got that kind of a pinkish purpley color for sure now. And we want to see this change to a deep, deep blue. So let's go ahead and add 5 more drops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're at 15 drops now. Okay, it's getting more purple. Guys, these plastic test tubes are so much better. You don't have to fight the top, it just screws on and off. I usually use those. All right, so 15 drops, we're at 300 parts per million now. So we want to maybe do 1 or 2 drops. We'll do 2 drops. We'll do 16, 17, because I'm starting to see some blue coloration in there. I don't know if you can see that. It's starting to definitely turn that deeper blue. So we're at 17 drops now. That's 340 parts per million. Let's go 18, 19, 20. Still not there yet. So we're at 400 parts per million now. Oh, it is starting to change. I think we're gonna be 1 more. Let's do 1 more. 1 more there. Okay, it's at like a purpley. It's a purpley color. They say it's usually 2 more drops after that. So we're at 21. Let's go 22. Still not quite all the way there. 23. And there it is. That is full. So 23 puts us at 460 parts per million. I'm using this cheap pH meter here, and I got a reading of 7.9 for the pH. I'm going to be using that for doing both of the tests. Now, I don't know how accurate this thing is, but you know, it pretty much looks the same as a lot of the ones you see online. So 7.9 sounds reasonable. I would think that's pretty close to accurate. May not be exactly where I want, but you know, your pH can swing for a number of different reasons. So 7.9 does sound probably accurate. So I'm gonna go clean all these instruments and I will get back to you. That way we have a fresh start for doing our bottled water seawater test from the Gulf. Very end, we'll compare the results side by side and take a look. Now I'm not gonna go through and show you guys all that. I don't wanna bore you again. So I'll do all the tests and then I'll just show you the results whenever I get them all done. All right, folks, the results are in. Let's take a look at what we found. So let's look at salinity. I was quite surprised to see that the salinity came back at 1.020 for the Gulf water. Let's start from the top. So the temperature was 79 degrees on both of the waters here. So salinity on the Reef tank 1.025, salinity on the Gulf tank 1.020. Temperature, we just went over that. pH, okay. Red on my cheap meter 7.91 in the Reef tank, 7.96 for the Gulf water. And DKH on my tank was reading a 6 or 107.4 parts per million. It's reading a 3 from the Gulf water at 53.7 parts per million. All right, calcium on my tank, on the Reef tank, was reading 460. On the Gulf water, we were looking at 320 parts per million. And nitrates on the Reef tank was 1 part per million. Obviously for the Gulf water, that was a 0, or at least we would hope so, right? And last but not least, phosphate part per million on the Reef tank was 4, and in the Gulf water it was a 0. So there you go, just a quick overview again for that. I went back and was looking at the results and I realized 4 parts per million phosphates is like super duper high. So I am definitely going to be working on getting those levels down as soon as possible, because that's like really dangerous. And maybe that's why my corals haven't been happy. Keeping it honest with you guys as always, and we'll learn from this. I hope you enjoyed this test. I had a lot of fun doing it. I always thought it'd be fun to test your aquarium water versus, you know, the water in the ocean and just see how the test results come out. Now, I don't know how reliable the API test kit is. It's what I've always used with my freshwater and my saltwater tank. There's a couple other brands that I know everyone in the Reef Tank forums use. Honestly, I got this on sale on Amazon, and so it's just the cheap kit that I've been using. But I will be making some changes to the way that I keep my Reef Tank in particular, and that is I'm going to be feeding less. I'm going to be trying to pay more attention to how much my clownfish are eating and actually just give them basically until they stop eating, probably like every other day or so, and try to drop back on that. Like I said, I'm going to be dosing now the Reef Energy from Red Sea, the AB+. Try to get my corals to do better. I can tell actually now it seems like there's something, it seems like my candy cane is growing a little bit. Like there's a new piece of tissue on it that I haven't noticed before. And so that makes me feel a little more optimistic about it after feeding them Reefroids. I'll still give them Reefroids, but I'm going to cut back on how much I'm giving. I know one of you had commented that I was basically overfeeding. I feel like I was probably overdoing it. My protein skimmer probably shouldn't be having to work as hard as it has been already. So far, the 3D Ocean filtration setup that I put in there is doing wonderful. Seems to be doing wonderful. When I installed it in the last video, I actually installed it backwards. And I was talking to the owner of 3D Ocean that evening, and they're like, hey, that's in there backwards. So anyway, calling my stupid self out for that. But hey, it was still working. We both learned something, because he didn't know that it would function backwards either, but not the optimal way for it to go. So if you watch that video, flip it around the other way. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I've been really enjoying making these fish tank videos. I've been gaining a lot of subscribers, so if you're a new subscriber, I really appreciate it. It really does mean a lot to me, and all your positive comments and constructive criticisms. As you know, I'm learning all about this as I go, but it's something I'm really passionate about, and just really passionate about the ocean in general. And so no matter what, I'm going to do my best to keep documenting it, because it helps me to go back and look and see the ways that I've messed up and how I can improve. And hopefully if you're keeping a Fluval CO or any reef tank for that matter, you can also, you know, see what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. And it's a pretty good community so far. I haven't really ran into any bad guys per se. Everyone in the community of keeping reef tanks is really passionate about it as well, because it is something that takes a lot of work. It's really a full-time job. That's why I made this checklist, to be able to do just my daily checkoffs on it and weekly checkoffs, and really just go through it. Maybe it's a military thing, I don't know. But I just feel like I need to have something to refer back to. And, you know, if something screws up, I can go back to whatever day and be like, oh, at this day, at this time, you know, this level was off, and maybe see what I did on that day, or maybe I put something in my notes where, you know, I fed my NIM on this day or whatever. It's just something to think about. I don't know how dedicated I'll stay to it, but I would like to try to keep an eye on it and just, you know, maintain the tank the best that I can. And it can be hard sometimes. Life can get in the way, obviously, of taking care of your tanks, but, you know, if you're in this hobby, it's just part of it, and you live and you learn. But so far I'm really enjoying it, especially with my new setup. Sometimes I look at other people's tanks and I'm like, man, I'm doing it wrong. Mine looks like crap. Like 3D Ocean, for instance, has some really nice tanks that I'm like, man, I don't even feel like I'm worthy to keep a tank sometimes when I see some other people's on Reef to Reef and stuff. So there's some people that have a lot of money in their tanks. I think for the next video, guys, and this is not sponsored or anything, but this is just a safety thing. This is the Inkbird. It's a like kind of a temperature controller, not a controller, but a monitor. And it has a couple probes on it, and you can put this in your tank and plug your heater into it, and you can monitor your heater temperature anywhere. So if it fluctuates, it'll basically trip an alarm and send you a message on your phone. So I'm going to be setting this up soon. And like I said, guys, all the stuff I use, I link it down below. You know, I make literally a couple cents off of it. So if you guys want to purchase it, you know, I really do appreciate it. This hobby gets very expensive very quickly. Yeah, that's the Inkbird. Probably be looking at that here soon. So I'd hate to invest all this time and money in here and then lose my corals because of a stupid malfunction like a heater, which I do replace annually, by the way. I keep it on a whiteboard I have up here when I replace them. And I need to actually set a reminder on my phone to do that. So if you don't do that, I know that's not what we're talking about in this video, but I would definitely look into replacing your heater if you don't do that annually. Alright, I have rambled on for way too long for this video. It is the 4th of July. Fireworks are going to be going off here soon. I'm going to try to get this video edited as quickly as I can, but it's going to be a pretty long one. It's going to take a lot of time. And because of that, like I said, please give it a thumbs up. It takes me a lot of time to make these and a lot of time out of my day. And happy Independence Day. God bless America, and make sure you do what you can to take care of the coral reefs. See you guys later.